All right, everybody. How are y'all doing today? Show me some love in the chat. Pop in there. Tell me how you're doing. Tell me where you're watching from. Welcome to the Great Object Podcast. I'm your host, Travis Joshua Wells of Appalachian Liberty. And today I have one of my very kind, very generous subscribers, Kay. And she's going to tell us all about the Oregon Trail and what she just experienced. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Travis.
I'm honored. Thank you so much for coming on. You were messaging me telling me you're going down the Oregon Trail, and then I was like, wait, that would make an awesome episode. Like that is exactly what this podcast is about.
Yes, exactly. I was so excited when you asked too.
Oh yeah, I'm tickled. Oh, sorry, I really wanted some of that coffee because I got the good stuff, and you want to drink it hot.
Oh yeah.
So so yeah, I want to first throw out all my subscribers because you guys make this show possible. If it wasn't for you guys, Kay's one of them here. We got Healer Protector, London Boyd, Daughter of America, Bridget Morgan. Okay, there, Hanover Boxer, Sage Wise Guy, Federal Farmer, Lauren Mann, Desert Ranger, AppTac USA, Snickers, Patriots Day, Skinny Kenny, Rod Girl Skillings Helm, and quite a few other anonymous supporters. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Kay, for not only being a subscriber, but for coming on the show. And so I guess we can just jump right into it. Ultimately, what this podcast is about is I wanted to use like stories from history to convince people of the reason that they should be armed. Like, why it is so important for the everyday common man to exercise their God given gun rights. And when you start going into stories like the Oregon Trail and the things that the settlers dealt with day to day, you end up almost on an alien planet because the world that we live in today is this just comfortable utopia compared to it. And a lot of us feel like the world is pretty terrible, and in a lot of ways it kind of still is. But when you start comparing it to just how our ancestors lived 100 years ago or even 200 years ago, you start to get a completely different society than what we live today. Like they didn't have GMOs, they didn't have food coming out the wazoo. They couldn't just go down to the 7-Eleven and get a big gulp or anything like that. These people had to literally create everything they had. And in
Mhm.
a lot of cases, when they realized that they didn't have a good hand dealt to them, they packed everything they had onto wagons and they took off to somewhere that they had only even heard about, which is the Willamette Valley, which is where the Oregon Trail was originally leading. So, if you want to just take it away and just tell us what you've discovered, what the Oregon Trail means to you, especially through the lens of liberty, and like the struggles that these people went through,
Mhm.
go right for it.
Sure, it's a good question. I learned a lot. We took a 2-week trip in an RV and followed the Oregon Trail. We had a guidebook. Um, there were 5 of us. I didn't really know a whole lot about the Oregon Trail, just what I learned in history class when it was purchased and by who and the specifics of it, doubled the size of the United States, Louisiana Purchase, and that was about it. But going to all the historical sites really made me realize how brave the people that chose to go, because it was a choice. Not everyone went. Some people thought it was too dangerous. I mean, these people had most people who were on the trail couldn't afford to go by steamboat or stagecoach. It took about $30,000 in today's money, and they had to sell like everything and and sacrifice. I think that's part of liberty, just us becoming a country. It was a lot of sacrifice, breaking off from England and standing up so we could have our own country and have this beautiful constitution that we have. And that was something else that was like one of the rules of the trails is the constitution was in place, and it was followed. and they fully exercised all their Second Amendment rights. Um, there you had your wagons of groups. The wagons in the beginning of the trail, like in 1843, they were a lot larger.
Mhm.
It gets small over time because that's more people, up to 100 people, and that's more people that you have to try to get resources for.
Mhm.
So then the wagon sizes got to be about 30, anywhere from 30 to more like 60. Um, but they had to have guard people, so they were on wagons with oxen that pulled them. Mostly there were a few
Mhm.
horse wagons, but you had to have armed men to guard for protection during the trail. um,
Mhm.
there was wildlife.
Mhm.
There was, you had, poachers. You had, people's Native American lands being, invaded that they inhabited for years.
Mhm.
Um, so to me, they were just really brave people because they faced so much adversity, like
Mhm.
the unknown, um, they disease, smallpox, and other diseases, weather, hard weather, wagons breaking down, running out of resources, and
Mhm.
there were a lot of decisions. They had to be really, really brave. There were decisions. Like, do we want to go over that mountain and disassemble our wagon and put it on a rope? Or are we going to go ahead and try the waterway over here?
Mhm.
And some of the wagons would flip. Uh,
Mhm.
and they walked it. Yeah, you had your drivers, but the women carried children. If you were fortunate enough to have like a wheelbarrow cart, they
Mhm.
would push them. But as we traveled in our RV, we had some of our own issues. We had a tire
Mhm.
blowout, and it was so stressful. And then we would laugh and be like, "This is nothing to what they had to do."
Right.
We ran out of. I think I ran out of my half and half one morning, and I was just like, they didn't even have that. I mean,
Yeah.
they had water from the rivers in which they followed, and
Yeah. They had black coffee, and they might be able to find something to mix into it if they like happen to get into a fruit patch or something like that.
yeah. If they
But
had no food to eat, if they were in a patch of where there was nothing, or sometimes you got off the trail uh,
Mhm.
and then there would be nothing, they would actually poke the oxen, take the blood, and heat it,
Mhm.
drink it.
Yeah, during the I think it was during in Cambodia during the communist takeover. That was one of the ways like poor people tried to keep themselves like fed when they were being forcibly starved by the communists. Is they would take a blade, they would sneak one from the work camps and just slice a cow's neck while it was in a pen and try to just drink some of the blood to stave off the hunger. And like it's crazy like to think like now I can just go down the street and get a burger.
Hmm.
But getting a burger 200 years ago was pretty much impossible. Like you had steak if you were extremely wealthy. You had you would have to raise the very animals that you were killing, because for the most of human history, you have to think like people, almost everybody, around 85% of all human population was in some way working day to day on food acquisition. Food is everything in history. And that's why so many wars broke out, is because there wasn't enough food to go around for everybody. So they were forced to do it instead of it being like this recreational bankers empire thing that goes on today.
Hmm.
But when you was talking about like your tire blowing out, that uh, made me think of the Whitmans. They were immigrants as well on the Oregon Trail, and they were Christian missionaries. they like at one point the axle broke, and he took a couple of days to just kind of prop it up on a rock, and he turned it into a two-wheel cart and just kept going. I'm like, I wouldn't have those skills. Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and
Crazy.
unfortunate, and it's very unfortunate what happened to them, because like they were there trying to spread, Jesus Christ to all these, like, to the natives, and they ended up getting slaughtered for it. Well, they wiped out everybody, and it was a white guy that was leading them, to kill the Christians. I'm like, man, come on.
Wow.
But yeah, like, usually when I'm diving into a new chapter, like a bunch of study for a podcast, like I'm always focused on what in this story is going to convince people that they need to be armed today.
Mhm.
And the big one that came up for me was the Utter Van Ornum massacre. And this was a wagon train, and it's not good what happened to these guys. So let's pop down here. Actually, before we do that, because we've already got your screen set up, would you want to go through your pictures real quick, and then
Yeah.
I'll tell that? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sure. All right.
Now, if you want me to full screen anything, let me know. If you want your face viewed, that's cool too. Like, just however you want me to do it.
I mean, can you put it on full screen so it's just the
Sure.
pictures for
Hmm.
a minute?
Yep.
Okay.
There you
All right.
go.
Well, we started off on the trail, and this is a picture of the Hollenberg Ranch. They also had the Pony Express there. Um, the Pony Express started in 1860, and they had to ride their horses 10 miles. Usually it was boys who rode, and they would ride 10 miles. They would have a horse 10 miles away, dehorse it, get on another one. So that one wasn't tired, go another. And they would go one more leg to their last leg, then pass the mail over 30 miles, and then go 10 miles back to their other horse after it was rested. Here is an actual wall from the time and some of the things. This was a resting area. You can kind of see, I think I skipped one. Nope. Um, so as people traveled, they had to rest. They went typically 18 to 20 miles a day. They had to they stopped around 5 in the afternoon,
Hmm.
and they would have to set camp, and everyone had their roles. You can kind of see this is going out to the cabin, and this is the store up here. Obviously, it's a new building now. Um, and yeah, so that Pony Express was really big until they had the 1861, the transcontinental telegraph
Hmm.
was invented. And then messages could be carried a lot quicker. And then the Pony Express kind of went down. Here you can see this is a typical pioneer off the wagon. They would have to
Hmm.
make this every day. So the man would do this. The man had roles, the woman had roles, and the children
Hmm.
did. Children would, take care of younger siblings, go fetch water,
Hmm.
um, and then the women did the cooking and the cleaning, maintaining the hygiene. The man prepared the fire and managed the journey and the livestock. So that would have to go up and down. It was a nice hike. We didn't get to go into the building because we went there Sunday morning and they didn't open till 1. They had like a
Hmm.
telegraph room in there. So it was pretty cool.
Okay.
This next part, the second part, this is one of my favorite. And I actually got their shirt on. This is Archway. It's not on the trail, but it is a double entendre. So it's not like an official trail stop that you'll see as a historical site. This
Hmm.
is off Highway 80 in Kansas, Gurnee, Kansas. And it goes over the highway and it's a museum. And it was absolutely fantastic. It was so good. I recommend it. You once you get up there, you have an interactive piece, and you get to hear your own device. So you kind of, are in your world, and the sound, the ceiling there starts. You really think it's like lightning and thundering, like you just feel. I guess with sound and
Wow.
the images, you feel, and then like the people are speaking to you, and it's their voice inflection that you think it's like real. It's amazing.
Now, is this projections or is this painting?
No, this moves. The ceiling's moving.
Wow.
I don't know how they're doing it. I had a
Okay.
video. It was just slightly too big to go to email, so I couldn't do it. And here's like a prairie where the livestock would graze, some buffalo. And then when the buffalo started to come, oh, that's going to be the next picture. This looks like it's one of the signature rocks, and you'll be seeing pictures firsthand, rocks that I have. Obviously, this is a museum replica. People would inscript their names in rocks for record, because they would send letters back. Pony Express, hey, you got to come. We're making it. You can do it. Go here. They would tell you where to go, or look for Independence Rock. And it became a historical record for their names. Here, she's pushing, and the guy up top, they're going up a hill. You can see maybe how they have their clothes in there. There probably was a lot more. So they were describing what the challenges they were having when I was listening to this. This is Chimney Rock.
I've seen that in Westerns before.
Yeah, it's just like out there in the like nowhere. So that also, becomes a landmark for people, to see, so they know where they're at. Now, these buffalo were running so fast and going and I don't know. I guess I felt like I was vibrating when it went through. I was like scared. I jumped.
Oh, wow.
It was totally cool. This is Signature Rock. We went and saw that. That was on second half of the trail. These looks like signature cliffs. Which cliffs are these? Or it could be, they didn't really sign at Scotts Bluff. Register Cliff. It looks like Register Cliff. I put this picture in here because a lot of people didn't realize the Mormons were on the trail. And I learned how the trail branched off into multiple. You had your Utah, the Mormon Trail, they called it. You had the California Trail that branched off, especially when the gold rush, and a couple other trails.
Well, a lot of people might not know that Ulysses S. Grant, he actually sent the United States Army after the Mormons to actually chase them down and hunt them down and get them off the trail, like they were extremely persecuted. I mean, I don't agree with their religious beliefs, but they have a right to be alive, obviously. But Ulysses S. Grant, he went and got them. Granted, they were able to defend themselves, which is in line with the subject of this show. But
and then here you have some pioneers. Now here you have some travelers caught by snow, so they're not in a good way at all. In fact, you wanted to be at Independence Rock by 4th of July, so you knew you'd have enough time to get to Oregon before the snow would come. Because you're not prepared for it to walk through the snow with limited supplies. But this was an amazing museum. This shows a lot. If you notice the piano there, people would sometimes put these treasured family heirlooms in their wagon to realize that it was going up the hill. As you can see the hill in the background, that was just too much, and they would just leave it on the trail. Things would break on your wagon. Some people would break down, and with the hardships, they decided just to settle there. The goal was to get to Oregon, because once you got there, you were promised 1 square mile per person.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah, right. But they definitely, I think, after learning their hardships, I think they should have gotten more. There was so much land. Here, there were some people, there were 500,000 people that went by wagon, and about 30,000 of them did die. And you can see real close off the trail, they'll just bury them and then put rocks over them so people wouldn't like grave dig and see if they had things on them. This is a real typical picture. I did see one, primary photo in one of the interactive museums about it, and it really looked like this. And look, you see, you got your people on horses, with their arms for protection. I mean, there could have been, Native Americans nearby, and most of the trail was already on trader land. The traders and the trappers, they were there, in the early 1800s, and they already kind of blazed away and knew where the sacred lands were. So most of them were safe, and the Native Americans were they weren't a problem. And then the military, from what I was learning, the military, and you can chime in here too, they made these peace treaties with the Indians.
Mm-hmm.
And they were good with that, and they wanted to honor it, and they had lots of land over here that they could go to. But once the treaties started to be broken by the U.S. government,
Mm-hmm.
then that's when things was starting to get dicey, and they kind of revolted.
Yeah, like if you're looking at like westerns and things like that, like it does paint the natives in a very bad light. I feel like history is extremely nuanced. Like kind of everybody was the butthole at one point in time, you know. If you look at exactly how many died by Native American attacks on the trail, it was 362 white.
Yeah.
And that's not anywhere near how many Indians were killed. But often they were like the settlers, when they were defending themselves, were horribly outnumbered, like we'll get into with the Van Ornum massacre here shortly. But but like, you know, most of the Indians were extremely peaceful with the settlers. You know,
Yes.
these were very rare instances where
Mhm.
like the Apaches would come after them, sometimes the Shoshone, but like it depended on the tribe. But most
Yeah.
of the tribes were peaceful. And the thing is like the army usually shot first and asked questions later. I'll let you take it back.
Like it. Going to all these places that you're going to be seeing here, most of them have visitor centers with museums, and some of them had videos. So it's really interesting to see which ones portrayed the Indians as, what I told you, were very peaceful, were very helpful, and traded with the settlers and helped because they had things they needed and vice versa. But there were some more places that protected them as just bad Native Americans, and it was sad to see. You can see them being militarized, by the Army peace traders. I mean, during treaty times. And here it's just a museum replica of a stagecoach, what that might look like. And then this talked about the telegraph coming, and then how messages could go. Oh no, this is the telegraph person wired that the 60-year race to unite the country railroad. They had a ceremony, and that kind of was the end when the trains went up. And here's a train station. We also saw some very conflicting train information in the museums. I can remember one place was telling us, hey, there's going to be another place you go, and it's going to have wrong information about, because they're one person was saying that the railroad people wanted, they had a lot of land up there in Oregon, okay, and that at Fort Hall, some people were saying that they were trying to encourage people to go from Fort Hall all the way up to Oregon. But the other people were saying that's not true. They didn't want any of the land to be given away, so that they were trying to discourage people. It was too hard to go, because the second half of the leg through the Sierra Nevada mountains was harder. So that was kind of interesting. Here you have, obviously, look at this nice coach. This is the VP of the Union Pacific, Durant's coach. I'm sure they were comfortable in there.
Yeah, they look comfortable.
Yeah. And here's the actual part from the train during that time, and what that looked like. Here's, I don't know if this is a primary picture. It was downstairs in this archway area. The booths looked too clean for me to convince it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Look at that gun though there. So they're armed.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a seller's house, a primary picture. Here's some on there. They had water barrels. They filled water up with barrels. And think about taking like the wagons apart, having to go down some of these hills and people carrying all the stuff. I love this. Here at Archway, they had some really great Native American, stuff. You got your tomahawk in here, the drum. This is buffalo hair here, different instruments for their ceremonies. I just love looking at their stuff. I bought a couple. Bought a couple books, the Lakota Indians, and I'm going to be reading those because I love reading. And it was a double museum, and down below the museum was the Oregon Trail when you went over Highway 80, and when you went back on the upstairs part, it showed like after the Oregon Trail what happened, like you had the cars come, and most of the highways went right on the trail because it was already blazed, like Highway 80. If you can see here, out to see the country from Omaha to the rest of UA, 5,000 miles in 3 months so far. So, obviously you could go a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had started having the preservation of land, and the national park started to come. I took this picture, and they had lights on this map showing all the trails.
Mm-hmm.
Here you got Fort Kearney. Here's where Independence Rock is, right around here in Missouri. They started, and then following this Platte River,
mm-hmm.
and then to the Snake, and then up to the Columbia River. But you can't see, the lights didn't come in the picture. But this next slide will kind of show you where things went. You had the Oregon Trail from Independence to Oregon, California, Independence to Sacramento. A lot of people would branch off, especially with the gold rush. The Mormon Trail started in Illinois to Salt Lake City. Pony Express went all the way to Sacramento, Colorado. St. Joseph was one of the cities that people started. You either started in Independence, St. Joseph, or Westport were the three main cities. There was the Santa Fe Trail too. That's not on here. Here's the actual window from the museum. You can look out and see the highway. I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh wow! Okay.
Isn't that neat? Yeah, you're like,
yeah, it is. I like that. I didn't realize it was built over the road. Okay.
Built, yeah, built right over that highway. And they had all the flags up, 250-year, very Americana. They had a great thing. Ash Hollow. This was on the Oregon Trail. Chief Little Thunder, the Lakota Indians lived in this area. It followed the South Platte River a few miles west of Brule. And it was named after the growth of the ash trees in the area. To get there, travelers had to ease down one of the worst, most feared hills. Like, people were just dreading this. Windlass Hill. They had to use ropes. It was one of the steepest ones. Some people did die there. Just a beautiful area of the landscape, just to show you the terrain. People would come to Ash Hollow. Oh, that's the Platte River.
Okay.
That's like from the interpretive center. So there's a little, museum. You can go there. It was definitely sacred ground because of the Lakota Indians. They had a lot of Lakota stuff in their museum. and they have a cave, and you could kind of walk down there to the cave to this area. There you can see my husband walking down. It's like a little building because it's an archaeological cave site. So
Mhm.
they have it windowed so you can't get in it, which is kind of cool. It was really big, so there's a few pictures here.
Okay.
Um, and it was pretty cool to see. Um, yeah.
I might have you send me that one about the archaeological layers several pictures back, because that's one of the things I'm utterly fascinated in, is like just like especially archaeology, like how many layers there are to
Yeah, you
the
have to
human
do that.
story, you know.
Yeah, there were some other rock pictures too. I was trying to be in this area, in the area of Ash Hollow that we were just at. There was a big fight in 1855 at Blue Water Creek. General Harney forces were sent out to chastise the Indians after the Great Groton Massacre, and
Mhm.
then there were some Indians killed, and then they had captured the rest. Uh,
Mhm.
this is Jailhouse Rock and Chimney Rock.
Hmm.
And this is in Bridgeport, Nebraska, just like kind of out there. It was one of the markers,
Mhm.
so people knew like to look for it. And they would be so excited on the trail to look for it, to finally something different. There's just rocks, big, cool rocks out in the middle of nowhere. Um, and this is kind of near the Platte River. Courthouse Rock is the bigger one. The small one is known as the Jail Rock. If you ever go to see these things,
Mhm.
this is like where this view, it wasn't as close, and this is where there was their little interpretive center, visitor center. It was closed; we couldn't even get in there. But
Mhm.
we had found it before that. This location is where you're going to see them in your guidebooks. But we
Mhm.
were leaving Scotts Bluff, and we saw this here, which was a lot closer and cooler. You see my little golden doodle there.
No.
A lot of history here. People of Oregon, California, Mormon Trail called this Courthouse Rock, or
Mhm.
sometimes Solitary Tower, or the church, or the Capitol, or the castle. The smaller rock was called the jail or jailhouse.
Mhm.
Um, Indians in this area in the mid 1800s, the Lakota and Cheyenne, and I don't know if I'm going to say this right. You might have to help me, Travis. Is it Arcapao?
Actually, I don't know. I've never heard that word
Ara,
before.
Arapeo, yeah. Peoples, the lands. They followed the bison in this area, and then
Okay.
in the 60s and 70s, Indians were forcibly removed from this area into
Mhm.
reservations.
Okay.
And Chimney Rock, that smaller rock that we saw in the museum with the looked like a chimney. So
Okay.
this was their little memorial. Sad that they have to put barriers around it so people won't tear them down.
Yeah, you think that would be just like, hey, don't hit this, you know?
Right. But there's some crazies out there. Hence
Yeah,
why we need our Second Amendment rights.
that's
Um,
it.
Here's Chimney Rock. It truly does look like a chimney. It's in
Yeah.
Baynard, Nebraska. It was really cool to see. And the stuff we had learned in some of the interpret centers is people were on the trail were very excited. Like everyone on the trail would go by Courthouse Rock, Jailhouse Rock, and Chimney Rock. It's 470 feet tall, follows the North Platte River. It was an early landmark for traders, trappers, and mountain men. So you had mountain men that literally looked like the mountain men in the movies. Uh,
Mhm.
and they made their way from the Rockies to the Missouri. From Rockies to the Missouri River. This marked the spot for the rugged section of the trail. So they knew once they got here,
Mhm.
it was like bittersweet because then they knew the harder part of the trail were coming as they were going to be going through more mountains.
Mhm.
Travelers would camp here, get water, climb, and write their names on this area. Oh, this next area is really beauty. Beautiful, obviously being a national monument, Scotts Bluff.
Hmm.
This was the first high cliffs that the travelers would come upon. They stayed rest and get supplies before trekking forward.
Hmm.
And this is the first spot where we got to see a swall,
Really?
SWALE. So that is a wagon rut. And so you're going to see that here in a minute. We were
Okay.
very excited. And they do have a museum. Their museum people were the nicest. It was pretty cool. It's just a
So,
gorgeous
so
area.
I'm assuming because of lack of rainfalls, like some of the wagon ruts still are there, huh? Like,
Yeah, I mean, now that we had seen some ruts here and there, you have a trained eye. So if you're ever like in that area driving and like you see a field, a farmer's field, and then all of a sudden you just like see kind of like an indentation because it's probably covered with hay because it's
hmm.
prairie land. You're like, I wonder if that was on the trail,
Hmm.
um, you know. And pretty much the trains and the highways took a lot of the trail, and other people, lands own them. I think some people filled them in, because the wagons were a lot of weight, and you had,
Hmm.
hundreds and hundreds of wagons that just dipped into the earth.
Hmm.
But this area was beautiful and really
I've
cool.
never actually been able to see the desert before for myself, so this is fascinating to me. Like I've never actually been to a desert at all.
Yeah, like I didn't know, like I was so excited once we got here. I mean, it felt so like peaceful. It was kind of sad to leave. They got a nice Americana flag. This isn't the interpretive center. I didn't even get a picture of that. I think this is their admin buildings. But they had a nice video in there. Really loved it. Great pictures. Um, it's a neat museum. Here is one of the wagons. And we're excited because at this point we hadn't seen too many wagons yet.
Hmm.
Um, the wheels, I mean, they went up to my shoulders. The back, a lot of them had, looks like that's a smaller wheel for it. They had a lady dressed in pioneer clothes, and she was in character,
Hmm.
and she was trying to teach us what she, would bring. You got your soaps here. I don't know if that's a fire starter. That's a brush for something.
Hmm.
Oh, I can go bigger. You seen it going bigger?
Yeah, yeah.
But I
It
can't
looks
remember.
like a lather. It looks like a lather brush for shaving.
Ah, that's what it is. Got your beans, your washboard, cast
Yeah.
iron, um, and then lots of different instruments here
Hmm.
that they would bring.
Looks like a lot of these are handmade too.
Yeah, there's a barrel for like water, pot belly. Is that a stove?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, there's all our feet. And then the
Either that
certain
or a
medicine.
coffee grinder.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, medicines, they didn't have pharmaceutical companies with pills and
Hmm.
doctors pushing them. They, they,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that was one of the that's one of my favorite things to do is like studying nature and like how to make medicines out of nature and things like that because what a lot of people don't know is one of the major reasons for prohibition was they didn't want mountain people making their own medicine anymore.
Yeah,
It wasn't just because they didn't want people drinking alcohol. There was a lot of money to be made in these pharmaceutical industries,
yeah.
and they
Oh,
came up here and tried to shut down the moonshine stills because with alcohol you can dissolve like plants and things like that in the alcohol, which
yes,
I do quite a bit for tinctures, and
yes,
you can make like actually very healthy medicines that do not have side effects, and
yes.
they don't want you to know that.
Love your post on X whenever you find your plants. Keep
Hmm.
doing that. I love it. Yeah, I'm a big natural herbist and myself. I got all kinds of teach. My husband says I have my own pharmacy.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, people, but you know what? When people are hurt, need healing, and the doctor can't help them,
Hmm.
they ask people who, and so
Hmm.
yeah, grow your own food, people. Whoa. Um,
Took all on you there.
did. Oh man, you're getting a preview of the good stuff. So this was kind of cool. They actually, this is obviously, oh, I'm getting touchy here. This is a wagon swall right here. It was
Oh,
a real
cool.
small one. You can kind of see you, if you walked and hiked, you could go to a bigger one. We were always on like hurrying.
Mhm.
So we didn't go. Plus, because we had 3 to 5 spots to get to today. But you can see the oxen are big. Usually they had 6 to 8 oxen. They could get up to 10 to 12 if it was a larger wagon that was being carried supplies for the whole group.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's really digged in. We'll get some bigger ones. Fort Laramie was the coolest fort. We went to Fort Laramie, Fort Hall, and Fort Kearney. And if you
I've heard of Laramie. It's been in a bunch of westerns, hasn't it? I think so.
Yep, absolutely. It started in 1834 as a trading post. We used to be called Fort John. A lot of people know it as Fort John.
Hmm.
And the traders and trappers kind of would meet here. They had to have their meeting places after the season to, do their trading. But in 1849, so around the gold rush area, U.S. Army bought this to help protect the immigrants moving west. But that's when things were starting to get dicey as you know, the treaties with the Indians were not being followed
Mhm.
as they thought. But it
Well,
was
also a big thing with the treaties too is like the Sioux River Treaty, I think is what it's called. If
pretty.
you read that, is the most confusing thing you will ever read, even
Hmm.
as somebody who natively speaks English. And they wanted somebody who didn't speak English to understand this. Like a lot of it, like even if it was a perfectly precise treaty, they I might actually pull up the text and read it during my segment. But good
That'd
lord,
be
like
cool. I think I had seen that, and I think I was reading it, and I think I gave up. Um,
yeah, most people did, and and then when the treaty is quote unquote broken, like maybe the Indians didn't even understand it to begin with, and
mhm.
that's a big thing with legality anyway. Is like, do you understand what you're signing?
Right. Here you can see a part of the original fort. After they were done with this, they started just to sell parts of the material out so people could use it to build homes. This is the backside of the soldiers' quarters. I don't know what that is. We didn't walk down that way. Like I said, we were always kind of on a timeline, so we had to kind of pick and choose. Here's the front side of the soldiers' quarters. The commissary house would be, your trading house and this, like canned goods, things where they could get all those things. This one had a hand operated elevator. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah. And this is actually the store, and they put it in a visitor center, and they had a lot of cool books in there. Here's some old, I don't know what it was that was part of the fort. I love forts, and to see our history, like ancient. I mean, this is like our history. I mean, I know it's
Oh
not
yeah.
like the Greece,
Hmm.
columns, but I think it's cool.
Have you
So
seen the lidar images of people like they take like lidar drones and like they'll actually find like old star-shaped forts that used to be there but like aren't standing anymore, and they'll actually find the perfect outline of them. It is the most fascinating and haunting thing you've ever seen in your life. It's so cool.
no, I hadn't seen that, but I seen where they found at Stonehenge,
Hmm.
like another kind of hedge and area. It's
Hmm.
really cool on the History Channel. You got to check it out. It's
I'll definitely send that to me because that's right up my alley.
Gosh, yeah, I'll try to look that up. I saw that this summer after I got off the trail. So here are some like storage room. These could have
Hmm.
just been quarters. You can see here, I think that these room are soldier quarters. You can see the foundations of the rock, and they started to give it away,
Hmm.
but then they kept this to show people like where they used to be. I'm really glad. There were more of them. They were gone. There were 2 more sections, the sign said. Here's the artillery room.
Ooh, that's my
Yeah,
jam.
yeah, yeah. I know. I should have posted some of the guns. Have a lot of pictures of the guns of this time that you would have
Hmm.
liked, but I can always send those to you.
Absolutely.
So you have, because I thought while I was taking them, I was thinking of you in the podcast.
That's
This
awesome.
and this is the jail room over here.
Hmm.
So this is the jail cell. Um, that's the latrine. Gross, but that's what it looked like. And of course, you got your Platte River. You have to have the water, right? Because you got to have water to live. And they used it to wash their clothes, take a bath. So Fort Laramie was really cool. I guess the pictures are making it look like it's kind of spread out, and it is, but probably not as much as what you would think.
Hmm.
You got to look through a plexiglass. This is the hey, no, Bentley. This is the officers.
It's a good pupper.
Yeah, he's really good. He's doing his job. That was their living room, and here is their dining room. Look at these prices.
Oh wow! Repair axle, $150. Okay, that's exactly like the Game Oregon Trail. Like,
Yep.
you got a certain number of money to spend.
It's probably where they got the data from.
Yeah.
Who knows?
That's probably it. Good Lord. Okay.
Yep, they had some furs and some things. I think this top right here is the original wood.
Hmm.
And they were saying, like, was Butch Cassidy during that time?
Actually, I don't know. Like most of my study of history has been like ancient like battles like Hannibal Barca and like European history and things like in China. But
Okay.
like this has been like a big treat for me, like taking a
Yeah.
break from all that, coming to this.
Well, the lady who was in here told us that
Hmm.
they would come here and have a beer, and this is the original wood, and she named 2 or 3 like wanted people of the time, crazy, and
Hmm.
they had drank there. U.S. Post Office. Look at that wood, old. Some of that is original.
Oh
So
wow.
this doesn't look as original. It might have been replaced.
It looks like it showed Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. Like I used to love that show. It was actually really good.
And all this is original stuff in here from then. And register clip. This was cool. Not as cool as Scotts Bluff. So if you had to go to, if you're ever doing the trail and you got to pick time, this was cool though. There were some signatures. Register Cliff. Let's see. It was a 1-day journey from. So if you leave Fort Laramie, they'd come here and they would rest here. Of course, they followed the Platte River. The earliest signature in this rock is 1820 from trappers and traders that passed through the area.
Mm-hmm.
You can see visible today signatures from 1840 and 1850. This spot, the travelers let them know that they were on the right path to the south path and not going to the impassable part through the mountains of the Continental Divide. So it was getting real tricky. So everyone would say, make sure you go by Register Rock.
Okay.
And the signatures were like a historical record. And they have a cemetery. Now, this is interesting. To talk about artillery, this was in Guernsey, Wyoming. And I can tell they were really big on the Second Amendment because as we were driving out here from Fort Laramie to this spot, we kept going by like an armory, like like training grounds for like the state armory. There were all these cool things. And then there's a cave in here, and you don't see it, but there are, looks like jail bars there, but I put my phone right up in between the two to get that. So you can't go in there, but I'm wondering, what do they use that for, and why is that there?
It looks like they might have had it looks like it could have been a mining shaft because of the square cut right there. It doesn't look big enough for a train. Maybe they were because a lot of times, like when they're like trying to discover minerals, they'll cut like a exploratory mine shaft. because there was I forget the name of the scammers, but they took a bunch of uncut diamonds and they went and sprinkled them all over this area, and then they were able to trick this prospector into saying, okay, yeah, there's diamonds there. There wasn't a single diamond there except for the ones that they scattered around, and they sold it for like 10 times what they paid for it. And by the time that they finally got caught, they were already back in like Ireland or something like that. But like, so the exploratory shaft would be cut, and then if they don't find any more, they just abandon the whole project.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Love that detail.
Mm-hmm.
Here are some signatures. You see KB Jones of 1840. You see a lot of modern signatures, and that's the saddest thing, is that people would ascribe into such a historical record.
Yeah, it's tragic.
Here's the cemetery. They've been weathered down by wind and rain. You can only see one of them 1/4. So this is Register Cliff, and it kind of ends here. There's some restrooms there. We were really grateful for that. And at Gorn, you've got your Platte River. Oh, now you got to go here if you're doing the Oregon Trail. This is a must. And it wasn't too far, I don't think, from that other site. National Oregon Trail Ruts National Historical Site. So anything no, this one's a state site. I don't know. It was kind of near Register Cliff. It's still in Guernsey, Wyoming. You got to do a little bit of hiking. Kind of started here with some small little steps. It wasn't too bad. This was a side trail I wanted to take. You can kind of explore there. There are a lot of snakes in the area in the prairies, so you do have to watch for those. That was another reason to have guns. I mean, you had snakes. Here's a wagon run. Look at this right here where can you see my cursor?
I can indeed.
Yeah, look at that. We stood in there. I mean, it went up to my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to go through this cliff, because I'm going to show you a picture here in a minute. This is where we stood. I mean, look at how uneven this is and how bouncy it was.
And they drove their wagons through there?
Yes, look at that.
That's insane. There's no way I would risk that.
So this
I wouldn't take a four-wheeler through there, let alone a 2-ton wagon.
Yeah. I mean, this was cool because, like, this is one spot where, like, we're standing on the trail.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it was really cool to go to this spot.
Oh, right on.
Look at this one.
From that angle, it looks like it's almost cut. So, like, they cut the path with mining axes or something. So maybe it's not as bad as it's looking to me.
Yeah. All right, here's a picture of Guernsey, I'm up on top of a hill. I kind of zoomed my camera in. So they wanted to go through those cliffs to hit some of these smaller foothill mountains. And it was a nice trail walking back down. You could see the paved path. All right, Independence Rock is cool. Okay. So in the beginning, I don't know if I mentioned this. When you left the trail, you left after the grass was 4 inches wide. 4 inches tall. Did I mention that?
No, I don't believe so.
So that was their clue. And it happened like mid-April, 1st of May, Missouri. When that grass, and they would measure the grass, literally. Because once it was 4 inches tall, they knew that was going to be enough rainfall. That was their clue. There would be enough rainfall to sustain them on the trip in the waters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the poverty stones over in Europe, because today, like a lot of people, like they'll be living near the river for 20, 30 years, and the river will get low, and they'll find these rocks called poverty stones in the river, and it's like if you see this rock, whoa, hard times are upon you, because like the water would be like, because if the rainfall wasn't enough, like people will start starving. So they put markers in the actual way in the river itself, and where we had such so when the river got that low, they would know, hey, start saving everything you can because you're gonna have hard times. But we live in a very different time now, and a lot of people just didn't notice the stones for quite a long time, you know.
Right. I love that. Yeah, I mean, those are clues. I'm a hiker, and I know I pass by clues. I'm like, why is that there?
Hmm.
That's probably a marker for something that has a reason.
Yeah, like the Native Americans around here, like you'll see very funny shaped trees. Like you'll see like an oak tree going straight up, but then you'll see like one branch that's really thick down at the bottom, and it goes
Hmm.
straight like this, but it's like it's pulled down and then goes straight up.
Yeah,
That's because it's a marker tree and they used to navigate by it. So
yeah,
like when you're on the river with your canoe or whatever like that, they would know, oh, that's one of the marker trees to show us how to get to our tribe.
yeah. That's cool. Love
Mm-hmm.
it, love it. That's probably why we got trailheads on our trails when we hike, um, like Appalachian Trail, the
Mm-hmm.
Turtle. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
that trailhead number one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Independence Rock was 50 miles from Guernsey, and with the pioneers wanted to be here by 4th of July. If they could
Mm-hmm.
be here by 4th of July, that was going to be a good sign that they would not hit winter in Oregon. And they would celebrate independence here. They would gather here. They put their signatures on the rock. They would wave their flags. They were very patriotic, very excited
Mm-hmm.
uh, to throw that American flag, and they danced. This is 130 feet tall, 1,900 feet long, 850 feet wide. They did, stay and rest. We did hike it.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go, if you're going to hike this, you want to go to the back. Now, we did see some people standing up here. They had
Mm-hmm.
like teenagers with them, and they walked down here, and it made me a little nervous, but they did okay. But here's, if you look at the rock, I don't know if this
Mm-hmm.
is like some rock algae. What do you think that is, Travis?
Oh yeah, that's definitely some kind of moss, but I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, I thought it was beautiful. Um, James Holland, 1862.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, you see a 1974 one there. Look at their writing too. I mean, we don't
Mm-hmm.
make W's like that. I mean, it looks like a typewriter.
Yeah, it does. It's like
Yeah.
a really steady hand going for having to carve into rock, you know.
So I put this one in here specifically on purpose because June 21st. So this person made it by, or June 27th, made it by July 4th. So they had a good chance of not hitting that winter.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know a lot about this, Travis?
I have heard of it, and it is tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Um,
was in a lot of the museums. I didn't really hear about, that.
so
Yeah.
from what I remember, like in the past, and this is strictly off of my very limited memory, is that they didn't make the deadline that you were talking about, but they still decided to press on, and they got trapped in the winter in the Sierra Nevadas, and they ended up having to eat each other a lot, and that was just the few survivors that mattered. And
Yeah.
apparently, it was due to their wagon master, like just said, "Yeah, it'll be fine. Everything's fine." Everything was not fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't, yeah, they kept mentioning it. Yeah, there was, you want to put me back on the screen? I think that's the last one.
Yep, gotcha.
Okay.
All right.
They, people will sometimes have to eat their dog.
Mm-hmm.
They did that. For food, there was cannibalism
Mm-hmm.
there. If somebody like died and didn't have a disease, I mean, and you guys were hungry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking hard decisions.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Um, and there was a couple other little passes, but that figure you have, like only about 300 and some people died from Native Americans. It just made it
Mm-hmm.
sound like they were, the way the movies, through
Mm-hmm.
propaganda, right, which we
Mm-hmm.
have today.
Mm-hmm.
It just made it seem like 80% of the people are
Hmm.
in your mind, in my mind at least, are going out
Hmm.
there and getting killed, by Native Americans. And um, I love Native American history, and that's
Hmm.
why I grabbed some of the cool books out there
Yeah.
and want to start reading. And that,
Yeah, it's
it's
like
beautiful.
one of the big ones is the Roanoke Island disappearance. A lot of people tried to blame the Indians on that, but I think I think if you really look at the evidence, because like the Roanoke colony, Sir Walter Raleigh, like he came in, started the settlement, right, and it was in North Carolina, and he created this fort, and then he had to sail back to England in order to get more supplies because they were hungry and starving and everything. Well, when he comes back to Roanoke Island 2 years later, because I mean it takes a while to get back, so he finds nobody is still there. Like it's complete ghost town. The settlement is completely empty, and the only thing they find on a post is the word Croatoan,
Hmm.
Croatoan, and this is one of the most popular stories in the cryptid spooky realm. But I think the like is if you go by Occam's razor, and Occam's razor is favoring whichever argument poses the basically whichever argument makes the fewest assumptions is probably the correct one. I think the argument that the makes the fewest assumptions is that Croatoan was a hint as to where all the people had went, and
Oh,
and Croatoan was a name of a tribe, and the thing was it was written in English, so it was one of the English people that wrote it. And I think they went to the Native Americans and just assimilated with them. Like they just joined the tribe because there was no sign of violence, there was no sign of struggle. So like these Indians took them in and it was like, okay, yeah, you can be one of us, that's fine. And I don't think there's anything spooky about that at all.
no.
I think it's actually kind of beautiful because like they seen these hurting, starving people and it's like, okay, sure, you can join us. We'll teach you how to live off the land and everything.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the old like Thanksgiving thing. But then you do have certain tribes that were extremely violent, and people had the right to attack them if they had the
Yeah.
chance. Like the Apaches were really really
Yeah.
bad, like really bad, and then like and then like the one that we're going to get into here in just a minute. I don't know if they were Shoshone or what, but like because anything that's like as disastrous as the Utter Van Ordum massacre, it's going to come down to like there's going to be a lot of conflicting primary sources and a lot of hearsay. So you kind of got to read everything and then kind of think about it. Be like, is there propaganda here, or am I unfairly judging these people?
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I
this.
know it's hard to filter through the truth sometimes because a lot of
Mhm.
you got AI, you got like history books, and some of the history's been rewritten, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's hard to know the truth. I mean, that's why you got to just get to as many primary sources as you get your hands on as
Yeah.
possible.
Well, the one I did with Amity not too long ago, the Carroll County Courthouse shootout, if you start studying that, you will be absolutely avalanched by primary sources, and every single one of them tells a completely different story. Like,
Really?
yeah, like it is unbelievable. So you've got to filter through all of this nonsense and just kind of piece together little by little what you think happened. And even still, you're probably going to be wrong, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I need to watch that episode. I like Amity. She's a cool
Yeah,
girl.
Amity's awesome. She was like one of my first followers, like almost 4 years ago.
Oh,
Like
really?
time's falling away, man.
Yeah, I talked to her. She said she goes, "Oh, I love Travis." Yeah, we kind of live near each other, which makes it convenient.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. She's cool.
Yeah,
All
like
right.
so like if you can see my screen there, like
I can't
they
I all I see is the picture. Oh.
okay, yeah, we can blow that up real quick. Here we go.
Oh wait.
So
All right. I think I'm back.
okay,
Yeah, you've got your map now.
Yeah, so like if you just kind of take into account like just how far this this distance that these people were living, because like the Utter Van Ornum, like this about 2,100 miles the way the bird flies, but you got to think they're snaking through like all of this like terrain going here and there and all the way. So like a 2,100-mile journey is quickly turning into like, oh my gosh, that's probably like over almost 4,000 miles, you know. And you said what, like 8 to 15 to sometimes 20 miles a day if they're lucky. So when
Yeah.
you're starting out in southern Wisconsin, coming to Iowa, and then slowly snaking across the Great Plains down to here, you're going quite a distance, you know. And of course, over here is a very lush green land, and you said they were getting 1 square mile each if they got
Yep.
there, right?
Yep.
So yeah, like you're having to pass through this complete desolate wasteland on the promise that, oh, there's probably going to be land for you when you get there, you know.
Yeah.
Like that's extremely brave people. I can't even imagine trusting my neighbor about something that happened on the side of the town. Like,
I
but
know.
yeah, but yeah. So the Utter Van Ornum, they started out here over here in southern Wisconsin. They talk about how they talk about how they had to leave their grandparents behind. Tears were streaming down their face and all that. And in the biggest primary source that you can find for the Utter Van Orman massacre is the one of the survivors. Her name was Emmeline Trimble. Um, this woman went through hell. So anyway, they finally they make it a couple thousand miles over here to what's Fort Hall, right? And at Fort Hall, they end up with the commander of the fort. They get there and they ask him for troops. They ask him like, hey, can you give us some protection to go along the way? And originally he's like, yeah, of course, we'll take you all the way to Fort Walla Walla. You know, like that's the deal. That's what we do here. You know. So this scumbag, he invites all the women and the girls to a dance that he's putting on uh, for morale for his soldiers, you know, and they
Mhm.
politely refuse, which is in their right to do, you know.
Right.
Well, anyway, he takes this personally, and he originally starts to just say, "Hey, we're not going to give you any, we're not going to give you any troops at all to make this journey." But then he kind of has like a second change of mind, but he's only going to give them a few days worth of troops because he can't outright refuse them because it's the law, you know. So what he does is he gives his soldiers 12 days of rations and says you can take them 6 days, which is almost nothing if you really think of how the distance that these people are having to travel, you know. So 6 days, maybe if they're lucky, 120 miles. So when the soldiers finally turn back, they tell these people, they're like, you're on the very edge of danger right now. We haven't even got to the part we would need to protect you on, but we're under orders to go back. We have to go back. We have to. So he ends up, the soldiers have to turn back, and then these three soldiers that had been discharged and one that was a deserter, one of the soldiers deserted and just went with. They go with the band, right? Let's see. Yep. Edge of danger. Okay. Um, about a week after the parting with the soldiers, a small group of Indians visited the camp. And now some of the primary sources, like Emmeline doesn't mention this, but anyway, others do. And it was like this: the leader of these Indians that visited, they like under his war paint, because like he just kept his face painted at all times. He looked like a white man underneath it. Like some people
Oh,
thought,
really?
yeah, some of them thought that he was just a white guy pretending to be an Indian, right? Now, but not
Kind of
all
like
sources
white, the
agree.
movie White Chicks.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So like, so you know, you're like most of them say it was an Indian, but it was definitely Indians that attacked them. So this could be a band of brigands or whatever that had just been separated from the tribe or whatever that decided to get violent, but they were being led by some white guy in war paint, whatever, right? But just keep that in mind, because like I'm not willing to just say the natives were the bad guys here, but there definitely were natives involved in this. Let's see. It's believed that these were war scouts that just went in to kind of assess how well defended this wagon train is, right? Well, so then they come up on, let me pop this back open here real quick. Okay, so let's see. So then they come up on Snake, because they're following the rivers as much as they possibly can, right? Let me pull up. So in this area, you can actually see wagon ruts. Yeah, here we go. You can still see wagon ruts from back then because there's so little rainfall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, down here is where the attack is purported to have happened at. Now this is where the marker's at, but the thing is, let's go into Street View here and just zoom in here. On September 9th, 9th and 10th of 1860, the Utter Van train engaged in a life and death struggle with attacking Indians. The assault on the wagon of 44 immigrants led by Elijah P. Utter just north of here resulted in the deaths of 6 men, 2 women, 3 children. Indian casualties were estimated at between 25 and 30. Survivors followed Snake River north to Owyhee River when rescued by the Army 45 days later. Only 15 had survived the ordeal of hunger and deprivation. No other Oregon Trail wagon train suffered greater losses. Now let me pull my start distances back up here. So yeah, so let's see. Main attack site is believed to be about right here. Now these big circles are irrigation techniques that they use out that way. They'll have like it's fertile farmland, but they don't get any rainfall, so they have to take everything from the river and pump it down here, and then they spray it. So that's what these circles mean. But anyway,
that's cool.
Yeah, I had to look that up because I was like, that looks like some kind of farming technique. But
so is this like Earthland from right now?
Yeah, this is Earthland from right now. This is Google. This is satellite imagery from Google Earth right here. I like using Google Earth because I feel like people think of like history and everything as like this abstract concept, and it didn't happen on the planet we live on, But this all happened in the world that we live in today, Like where I live right now was once called the frontier, So but yeah, like they would follow the Snake River, right? And then they eventually got up here to
the Snake River is so beautiful.
Oh my gosh, it looks amazing.
After going on that trip, I want to like go boating somehow. I don't know what boat, but I want to do the Platte.
Yeah,
I really want to do. If I had to choose, I'd do the Snake.
That's it. Yeah, I would love to just kind of just drift down it for a few days just to see what happens,
Lazy river it. We should just get a bunch of libertarians and
absolutely
get some inner tubes and go down.
Yeah, I'd love to do the James River like that here in Virginia, because like a lot of that's like history stuff, like a lot of like the British settlements and like things like that, like old Revolutionary War battlegrounds and things like that. Yeah. That and then we'd be passing by that on kayaks or whatever. But nice. Yeah, like so they were the Indians leave them alone after being asked several times to leave, right? And then they keep traveling for about a week later, and cattle are just disappearing here and there, and they can't do anything about it because they don't have the manpower to go fight, because the Army left them pretty well and just completely desperate, right? So they finally come up on the Salmon Falls area, and it's not really recorded where this attack happened exactly, but like it's believed to be around this area. So they come upon these Indians. They're doing their war chants and their hooping and hollering, like chanting and all that. And they immediately circle the wagons because it sounds like an
Mhm.
attack's coming.
Yep.
Well,
That's what they would do. We saw that in the museums.
yeah. So anyway, that same chief rides up, and he indicates that, oh, everything's fine. Don't worry, everything's gonna be fine. You can pass. I'll keep my guys under control. Well, the immigrants, they cook their noon meal and then they finally set off again, and it's recorded here. As we come up towards the hill and turn down towards Snake River again, we came in full sight of the Indians, who were singing their war songs and their shrill war whoop. I can never forget. Now, that's Emmeline Trimble there. Caravan quickly circled the wagons to prepare for the fight. Chief rides up to kind of trick them and be like, everything's going to be fine. But then they had their noon meal and they set off again. And this is Emmeline, quote: "The last wagon had hardly started before they commenced their terrible war songs and dancing again, and coming toward us all the time. We corralled the wagons as soon as possible, but before we could get the last one in place, the man who was driving was shot dead. His name was Lewis Lawson from Iowa. Shortly after, two more were killed, Mr. Utley and Mr. Kithwall. We fought them all afternoon, and all that long, awful night, picking them off as often as we could get a chance. We had no chance to get away under the cover of night, as they were ever watchful. And if they heard even the least noise, they would commence to whooping and shooting at us." That's Emmeline Trimble saying that.
Hmm.
Now, this little man, um, he, so Emmeline was 13, but her little brother, Christopher Trimble, this kid was 11 years old. His dad is shot dead by the Indians. He picks up his dad's rifle and just starts picking them off left and right. Like it is utterly amazing what Christopher Trimble did for his family. So like it is expected that he killed about 13 just by himself. So
Wow.
that is like
That's
he.
amazing.
So when I say Christopher Trimble, like say his name with some respect, because this little man earned his place in the hall of his ancestors. So anyway, and he gets better later on, right? In the escape and flight from the burning wagons, the armed guys, the soldiers that had been discharged, and the one that had deserted, the soldiers that had been discharged, they were supposed to ride away from the camp and clear a path if they could for the rest of the people. But instead of that, they just galloped away as fast as they could. They didn't even try to help at all. But the the deserter guy was the bravest, and he stayed as long as he possibly could without being of risk to himself. But even still, he just kind of took off. So you got all these women, you got all these children, you got these elderly men. All of them are completely left alone with nobody to defend them except for themselves. So they grab everything they can, everything that they can just carry. A lot of them are barefoot. They're in their night clothes and everything like that. And they start hoofing it at night up a river that they're not even remotely familiar with. And they travel like 75 miles upriver to what they call Camp Owyhee. And these 11 were killed at the wagons, of course, and there was 27 that got away and ran away to Camp Hawaii. But it's things just kept going wrong for them, right? Let's see. Covered that. Sorry, I got to go by notes because I can't remember all this, unfortunately.
No problem. I did
Now,
the same thing.
yeah. There's only so much of a single human brain can hold, right? But
Yeah.
so yeah, for over a week, they hid in the daytime and traveled by night. They just stayed by the water. They were starving the whole time. They didn't, because I mean, you got to think desolate wasteland around, right? And they eventually run up on a starving cow, one of their cows that had gotten away, right? It's completely starving, but they kill it. It gets something on their stomachs at least. One guy eats too much, and he, like, after you've been starving for over a week, you cannot just eat like you might think you can. Like even though you're starving, you should not eat because your body will quickly learn quickly forget how to digest saturated fats. So like when the Russians finally captured all the Nazis in Stalingrad, a couple of the Nazi guys they were able to steal a stick of butter from the mess tent, right? And they go and they put it in water and boil it, but they had been starving for weeks and weeks prior to that, and they put the butter in the water and boil it to try to get a broth going, and they die in agony because their bodies had completely forgotten how to digest saturated fats. So
Wow.
so if you're in a starvation situation, you eat just a little bit and you got to slowly get your body used to it again because a couple mountain men will come up on somebody who's starving and be like, oh yeah, of course you can have some food, but then they'll realize how long he's been without food, and he'll be like, oh no, give me that food back. I'm not being mean, trust me, this is saving your life. But yeah, so for over a week they're on the run, being hunted like animals through the woods, right? They kill the starving cow. We're talking 75 miles, and then they finally just can't go any further, and they strike camp at Owyhee River, right? And this is called starvation camp um, because like they're still starving. They're basically skeletons, like already, right?
Hmm.
So for 45 days they're in this camp, and this little man, Christopher Trimble, starving himself, he's the guy who's like, okay, I'm the main character, right? So he decides that he's gonna like volunteer. Let me pop up here to Camp Owyhee, because like you got to think these are just vast distances that they're covering. So this is around this area somewhere is where Camp Owyhee was, right?
And look how steep it is. And can you
Oh
imagine
yeah,
traveling? And some of them didn't have shoes.
yeah,
Their feet bleed.
yeah.
Oh,
And it's reported that the children cried so much that they just couldn't even cry anymore. Like they were trying to catch salmon the whole time, but like they had very little luck with that because they didn't have anything to catch them with, right? But so Christopher and anyway, this because the soldiers that had deserted them and left them and ran away, they run back into them. They're called the Reith brothers. So anyway, they meet Christopher and Mr. Goodsell, who are the two that agreed to, like, because up here is Camp Walla Walla, Fort Walla Walla, where they were trying to reach, right? So you got this 11-year-old kid willing to go through like 100 miles of terrain he doesn't know, barefoot, trying to get help for his family, but he runs into the Reith brothers, and they learn that the camp is starving, they need help, and so all good on them. They should have helped earlier, but they slaughter their horse on the spot and give Christopher something to eat and Mr. Goodsell. And
wow.
yeah, well, anyway, Christopher, again, 11-year-old boy, not a big man yet.
Hmm.
He volunteers to carry as much horse meat as he can back to this camp, days away.
That'd be heavy. Meat is
Yeah,
heavy.
yeah, and he
It's
was he
muscle.
was and he was forced to drop quite a bit of it along the way because it just got too heavy at a certain
Yeah.
point.
Aw.
Well, Christopher, he's sorry, I get kind of emotional in these heroics tales, right? Well, anyway, he is like an utter giga chad at the late age of 11, so he's carrying all this horse meat that he can possibly carry back to the camp, and he gets there eventually. And he gives them everything he has, and he immediately sets off to go find the Shoshone Indians that are nearby and try to haggle for even more food, trying to be like, hey, we'll trade whatever for food, right? And he just ends up kind of just staying with the Shoshone Indians for a while, and back and forth, just doing everything he can to feed his family. You know, like like 11-year-old kids like me when I was 11 years old. I all I did was play video games. Like it's just like we're talking. Like I can't get across just how much respect I have for this little man, what he went through.
Yeah. It's like
Well, oh yeah, go ahead.
he's not Christopher Woods of Pooh Bear.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like who would
So
he be? Like Robin Hood or somebody?
oh yeah, like people need to respect this little guy. So
Yeah.
anyway, he ends up just staying with the Shoshone, trying to get salmon brought back. The Shoshone come and trade basically for everything that the people have left that they can get. And anyway, once they realize that the people are so weak, they actually seize all their guns and just take all their guns from them. Like even the Shoshone are not being they're not dealing properly, with them.
Mm-hmm.
But their ultimate thing is food because we're dealing with the law of the minimum. You got plenty of water nearby, but if you don't have any food, you're slowly starving to death.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, they finally get they're hanging out in the camp, and the Indians start to overhear that soldiers will eventually be coming, and they start getting scared, thinking, oh, that Fort Walla Walla is going to is eventually going to send soldiers down to rescue the people at camp. So they take Christopher and they kill him. And yeah,
Oh.
they kill Christopher. Now Emmeline Trimble, like they don't know what happened to Christopher at this time, right? Because he just stops coming back. Well, Emmeline's constantly traveling up and down this little thing with her sister. And Emmeline's 13, so like we're talking a very young lady, but still very, very responsible. She's traveling up and down the river just trying to find things to eat with her little bitty sister, and her sister gets so weak that she falls behind and they can't even talk. And Emmeline finally realizes she's missing and goes back and finds her, and she asked why she didn't holler out or follow her back, and she just explains that she was too weak, she couldn't even speak, and by that evening she had died. And
Oh.
yeah, so this is just they call it camp starvation for a reason. These people are wasting away. Well, eventually Mr. Goodsell and the Reith brothers get to Fort Walla Walla, and immediately this commander, he's actually doing his job. He's like, okay, we're immediately going to send an expedition out. He sends wagons, he sends plenty of supplies, immediately tries to rescue these people. And he
How long
and
would
then
that take them to get there? By
well, I mean that's an excellent question. So let's pull up the measurement tool. Now this is just the way the bird flies, but like we're looking at like 112 miles. So you're talking like 5 days immediately. Like if he set off immediately, 5 days still travel. And like when not Stonewall Jackson, when Andrew Jackson was making through the swamps to go down to repel the British in Louisiana, it was a miracle that he made 20 miles a day through the swamp. So you got to think like, it could be a week or two going through here. So
yeah.
the Reith brothers and Mr. Goodsell come in and they stay there because they don't have anything left, but they eventually do come back and try to help, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the soldiers are down here and they are trying and I'm trying to find the quotes here. Let's see. One of the commander himself comes in and he says that the people were a little more than skeletons with life in them by the time they found them,
Wow.
and only 15 survived.
Whoa.
Only 15
15?
survived.
And they started
15.
with how many?
They started with 27 that survived the wagon attack,
That's tough.
and they
Oh.
had been having to dig up their children and eat their bodies to try to survive.
Mm.
Like this is absolutely horrible. And like all of this could have been prevented if it wasn't for that. Like like I'm just going to call him a creep at Fort Hall. that was like, oh, we want your daughters to dance for us, like, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely, just absolutely evil in every way. Well, four of the children get taken captive because Indians had come in and started like killing some of the women and everything. I'm not going to say what happened to Mrs. Van Orton, Mrs. Van Ornum, but it was not good. Let's just put it
Aw.
that way.
Hmm.
Well, anyway, because I just, I could get graphic, but it's tragic. And I think it circles back to the point of this podcast is like the great object is that every man be armed. And these people were utterly defenseless at that time.
They really were.
Nothing to defend themselves with. They were
Mhm.
starving. They had water, which lack of water will kill you the most in nature, right? But
Mhm.
anyway, the Indians had when they finally found Christopher's body, uh, the captain described that he had had his throat cut and that his body had been much disturbed by wolves, is the way he put it. So
Aw.
Christopher, wherever you're at, buddy, you're a hero. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, so but yeah, it wasn't until 1890 that Emmeline told her story, and four of the children went missing. It's believed that they were abducted, and Zacchaeus Van Ornum, because the Van Ornum children are the ones that were taken, three daughters and one boy. They were taken by the Indians and just kept. And he spends the next 2 years and $5,000 of his own money, which if you convert that, and this is $5,000 then, like he spends $5,000 of his own money, which if you look at it today, that's like $200,000 almost. So he's spending like putting out papers everywhere he can. Like he's the uncle, and he's like a newspaper magnet, and he's spending everything he can to try to find these kids because like that's his entire purpose for 2 years. And he eventually gets a solid lead, and it ends up they're down in Utah somewhere. So you zoom out, and they're down here somewhere. And by the time he finds the boy, the daughters have passed away in captivity. So this is just an extremely brutal world, But
Yeah.
but yeah, like Emmeline Trimble, she kept her family together and everything. There's um, there's a couple other survivors that wrote about it, but like if you read the way that they tell things, they're criticizing all the other immigrants. They're making themselves out to be the hero, and the fact of the matter is, if you go with Emmeline's story, which I think Emmeline's story shows the most nuance, like she's not just like taking a shot at the Indians. She's saying that like, yeah, these Indians did bad, but these Indians helped us, and then these Indians did bad, But
Mhm.
yeah, it's a tragic story, but I think because like I really latch on to sections like this in history because if they had been armed, if they had had soldiers with them, if they had not been completely just cast aside by their government, which is what governments do.
Exactly.
But yeah, so you know, um, again, I got to say his name, Christopher Trimble. Like that's what a man's supposed to do for his family, and he did it.
Absolutely. At
But yeah,
11.
yeah, and 11 years old. Like,
Yeah.
talk about brave.
Mhm.
Like just imagine carrying raw meat through the woods. You know, every animal for miles around is gonna be like, hey, let's follow him. But this 11-year-old kid, he's not even afraid of the dark. He's just like, I'm gonna keep my family alive. you know. But yeah, I guess we're coming up on time here, but thank you so much for coming on here with me, man. Okay, and
Yeah. My pleasure. It was fun. I learned a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
so one thing I like to ask my guests is for homework because I think studying all this, talking about things, we can often like lose ourselves in theory, but we need to take action and come into the world and do things and become stronger and better people. So the homework I usually ask my guests to assign, because I'm going to do it too, whatever you tell us to do. So what I ask for is a physical task, a mental task, and a social task, because we're
Ooh.
mind, body, and community. So like a physical task, it would be something that makes you stronger in body,
Okay.
like a workout or whatever, or
Mhm.
something along that lines. Or and then a mental task, like some people, like they'll offer like a riddle, or they'll say, hey, read this poem or read a book, that whatever your favorite book
Mhm.
is. And then a social task is something that builds community, something that knits people together, and gets people
Mhm.
operating as one. Go
Mhm.
for
Ooh, okay. So the mental one, the mental task,
it. Hmm.
I would say grounding. You know, that's what I'm trying to do, like in my work, in my day, is to ground yourself. You could do that by like going outside
Hmm.
barefoot, connecting to
Hmm.
the earth and getting that electromagnetic um, energy coming up from the earth.
Hmm.
You could do it like through meditation, like
Hmm.
closing your eyes, deep breathing, clearing your head, trying not to think. And that's a
Hmm.
struggle. I mean, when I first started meditation, it took me a really long time to get to the point where I could do that. And I have been
Hmm.
doing it and it goes away. So now I sit there and then I start thinking about everything.
Hmm.
So doing that, I've been trying to just build more muscle. If we want to get stronger, we got to build muscle mass. As we age, muscle mass
Hmm.
goes down. So I've been starting personally to do some Pilates.
Hmm.
Pilates with Izzy is really good on YouTube. It's free.
Hmm.
Lifting the weights. You don't have to. You can lift your own body. You don't
Hmm.
use your body weight. Do some
Hmm.
squats. I would say just clear, ground, get your energy good, clear your head, and
Hmm.
build your body. And I guess I connected the physical and the mental.
Hmm.
What was the third one?
Social things that build community.
Ooh, social. Wow.
Hmm.
Travis, are you guys
Hmm.
doing primaries right now?
Uh, Actually, I don't know. I don't trust. I think the primaries for Virginia were like maybe in May.
May.
I'm
Well,
trying to
we're
remember.
primaries down here.
Hmm.
Last day's Tuesday. So if you're in Florida, I
Hmm.
would say, um, I don't know how social that is.
Hmm.
The Libertarian Party down in my county, we
Hmm.
put together some political forums
Hmm.
and, to hear the school board members. Um, I would say, I guess a task would be know who's running and do research
Hmm.
and try to meet them when you can and know
Hmm.
or run. And then if you do feel the call and like you're listening to this and that you resonate with freedoms, like getting our privacy back,
Hmm.
securing our Second Amendment rights,
Hmm.
being able to trade like we used to.
Hmm.
I say a task would be read the Constitution. And
Hmm.
then ask yourself in your head, are we really following it?
Hmm.
But just try to connect. And that's, what I did and how I've connected with you and Amity and
Hmm.
Free,
Hmm.
through Casey. I just found him on X and said, hey, I want to connect with other like minded people. Who do you suggest?
That's
And
it. Yeah.
yeah, I suggested you. And look, here we are today and we're connecting. But you got to put yourself out there. You got to take that
Hmm.
step. Yeah.
Yeah, like the big thing with me is like, especially with like libertarians, is like there's just so much infighting within the party, and I just I feel like the biggest thing is to just try to like meet somebody that, like, okay, so I cursed the day the man was born, but Abraham Lincoln, he was right about one thing. He said, I don't know that man. I must get to know him better. He says, I don't like that man, so I must get to know him better. And I think that's actually a really good point. Like, pick somebody you don't like, somebody that you just like, oh, like but you've never really met. But then try to get to know them. Like you can disagree on a few things, but I guarantee you, especially other libertarians, like even if it's like a cuckoo leftist libertarian, because I'm extremely right wing. Like I'll talk to like people that are on the board right now that are very left wing, and we'll get along. We actually will. We'll be like, yeah, like we'll have way more. We'll have way more in common than we do with differences. And I just it drives me crazy. There's so much infighting, especially when we have such a perfect enemy out there. We could be fighting all that energy against them.
I mean, these little things, I mean, that's what Democrat and Republican used to be like. There was just a few things they disagreed on. And, there's more that unites us that divides us. And it's okay to disagree. It's okay. And that I think we just need to start talking. Like there for a while, it's like both sides couldn't talk to each other. It's we need to talk, to respect, and it's okay if someone has a different point of view. You don't have to talk people into it, and just share our ideas of liberty and freedom the way that our forefathers formed our country to be, and to study history. History repeats itself, and just get stronger. Get your skills. Get out and learn how to use a bow. We may have to go find our own food one day. We don't know.
Yeah.
Learn in nature and grow your food. That's one of my goals. I'm gonna start planting.
I'm wanting to. I've actually been growing some oak trees out front because I found some like white oaks because I was in Tennessee, and like all around like the rest areas, they're deliberately growing oak trees. So I grabbed a bunch of acorns and I just shoved them in my pockets. Right, I was like, I'm gonna grow some oak trees, and I did the hatching thing where you drop them in a bowl of water. If they sink, they're good. If they don't sink, if they float, then they're bad. Right. Then I put them in wet paper towels for a few months in the refrigerator to kind of simulate winter time. And then and so far out of like the 30 acorns I took, I've got 4 baby trees. So
wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't know.
Yeah. So I'm calling them baby. I'm calling them baby Groot. So I'm just like, I just love studying plants because like that's what our ancestors did for food.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, medicine is plants. You can heal yourself through what you eat. If you get cancer, you don't need to go get chemo. There's plenty of other things you can do. Natural nicotine heals all kinds of food. You got your coniferous vegetables. I mean, so many things you can do. Oh, with your white oak, you can cut those off and pretty much graft them and replant them. So you could, though you got 4, you could get many.
Really?
My son-in-law, he's got some white oaks, and he was showing us.
Okay, so I can cut the branches off and they'll make a whole new tree? Is that?
Yes.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a bunch of trees because this little guy.
You can make a forest. That's what I want to do. I want to make a food forest.
Yeah. Speaking of, like, I've started with my grandfather. My grandfather's a woodworker, and he makes these walking sticks, right?
They're so beautiful.
Yeah, I had him make this one for me. I actually bought it from him. I'm like, this is beautiful. Like, this is actual deer antler, like that he's killed.
Oh yeah.
And this is white oak handle, right?
It's beautiful.
But yeah, like I've managed to sell a few of them, and anyway, we also take like custom orders and things like that. I always forget to talk about them because I'm not the greatest salesman in the world. I'm more of a nerd, I'm always in books and stuff. But yeah, like I'm hoping to like get like a whole like grove of oak trees, and then like because the vines, that's like these the Virginia creeper vine, that's what creates this pattern on it because it spools around and strangles the tree. I'm trying to figure out how to get that to where like I can like do that artificially, like start the vine itself planted next to the tree that I'm wanting to do, you know. But yeah, it'll eventually get there.
Now, how much does he sell his canes for?
I
Around.
most of them go for 100 plus shipping. So like, let's say you're in the farthest flung corner of the continent, you're looking at like 135 total.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, but yeah, if I'm delivering it in person, if somebody's close, then obviously there's no shipping charge or
Yeah.
anything. But yeah, it's coffee sticks. That's because his name's David Coffee. He's my grandfather,
Oh,
and yeah, he's tickled to death that I'm actually making sales for his sticks and stuff. And I'm like, people are loving this. They just need to know about it. Is all.
where do they go to order?
You can just contact me directly. Like if you, I've got pictures of sticks we've already got made, but we also take custom orders. So like if you have something specific in mind, like
Hmm.
a like color or like a stain or a type of wood, just we'll talk it out and I'll figure out how to get it for you.
All right, great. I'll keep that in mind. I would love to
Yeah.
order one at some point.
Oh, absolutely. We're here for you. But yeah, is there anything else you want to plug? Like, tell us where to tell us where to go
Well,
for you.
well, no, I guess the only thing is, you know, we
Hmm.
never know who might be watching us, who might want to go. But the guidebook we went to is
Hmm.
this one. This is
Okay.
the first edition. If you get
Okay.
like the second or some of the other newer ones, she added some pictures.
Hang on.
And if you ever,
I'm taking the mirror off of your camera so they can read it. There we go. All right.
okay, Julie Franslow.
Okay.
It
Julie
was a good one.
Franslow.
And then my husband bought this, and then we get on the trail. And it was kind of cool, and he pulled it out, and he bought it. He had bought this journal book.
Uh huh.
So it starts in Missouri, Kansas, Wyoming, Idaho, Oregon, and
Hmm.
Washington. So I was able to make like notes in it, like what you
Hmm.
want to eat, and this was really helpful.
Hmm.
One of my daughters, I think, is gonna do the trail. So I made notes like, "Hey, don't do that. Do
Hmm.
this. This one's hard to find." And
Hmm.
if you ever go back, it'll be helpful.
Oh
So
yeah.
I would say that.
I would love like I know they put a grave to Christopher somewhere, but I would love a picture of it. Like
Yeah.
if you can tell her to send me one, I would very much appreciate that because like reading that little man's story, man, that made me choke up. I'm like this little badass man. Like,
Yeah. One other place we went, I mean, is on the way to Oregon.
mm-hmm.
Is Montanil Falls.
Mm.
And you're like on the highway, you're getting close to Portland, traffic's getting bad, and then in the median of the highway is a
Mm-hmm.
parking lot,
Oh
huge
wow.
parking lot. So you're like, this is weird. I'm getting off on left. Now I'm parking.
Mm-hmm.
There's a highway. But then you go over a bridge and then you can see this. You can go all the way up there. And then we hiked a little bit even further up. And there's
Mm-hmm.
trails, bring lots of water. That was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
right on.
And then
Very cool.
we did Seaside, Oregon, and then went to Yellowstone, and then Mount Rushmore, and
I
so
would love to go to Yellowstone, but Yellowstone legitimately scares the crap out of me because like
why?
it's a super volcano. So like
Oh,
it's about 600,000 years no 60,000 years overdue for an eruption, and
this is
it's
it.
estimated to cover the entire United States in 4 feet of ash. So we're talking an apocalyptic event.
When I researched it in the early 2000s, 2000, like, I don't know. Yeah. I thought they were like saying that it would go to like, I don't think it would hit Virginia, but it was
Mm,
just more like that.
mm.
I don't know. Who
I
knows?
mean, yeah, I guess it would depend on the wind patterns and stuff like that. Like the Krakatoa eruption, no wait, Mount Iratia in El Salvador is the one that caused it. In 534 AD, I think is when that one erupted. Don't quote me on the year, but it's in my intro. But it blew up, and for the next 2 years, it blacked out the sun so much that there were crop failures for like the next 3 years. And it was so bad that the Roman Empire on the other side of the planet was like recording that they had a summer without heat and frost in July. So like we're
Wow.
talking like it was basically kind of like winter time in July in the Mediterranean. So like we're like mass global starvation, and I think it was something like 89 square kilometers, which would be what, like 60 miles square kilometers of soil and ash and rock that was kicked into the atmosphere from it. And that one's smaller than Yellowstone. So I'm just like, wow.
Well, with all the ash, all that carbon going back into the earth, later it's going to produce good crops. So that's another
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Compost. Here's another good task. Start a
Mhm.
compost. When I plant my plants with my compost and, for my vegetables or yard clippings or
Mhm.
different things, oh my goodness, I can bring back a plant and it looks wonderful.
Oh wow, right on.
Yeah, well, it's a fertilizer.
Mhm.
Fertilizers are getting expensive with Iran war and all that blockage.
Mhm.
Um, Fertilizers is on that list
Mhm.
for not being made because of some of the gas or helium or I don't know. It
Mhm.
was on Mike Adams, but uh, really important stuff.
Right on.
So yeah, well, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for having me. Had fun tonight.
Absolutely. It's been an honor. Thank you so much for showing us all that. I knew that would make a great episode. I absolutely knew it. I was like, this is going to be great. I was I was doing as much reading as I could at work between trucks that I was working on.
Nice, nice.
But
Well, thanks for
yeah.
having me on. I had a great time,
Hmm.
and
Well, I'll I guess until next time, the great object is that every man be armed. You guys like, share, comment, subscribe, and please go follow Kay. She has a lot of great content for you too.
yes, thank you. Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye. All right.